the conversation we're going to have today, which is really about 3 KPIs that you can do something with. They're easy to track. They're easy to manipulate with or without a CRM. Actually, you don't even need to have the most robust tech stack to pay attention to these things. And they are average job size, or AJS as we're going to refer to it, conversion rate, sometimes known as sales ratio, and lead slippage. Let's start with the top one here. Average job size, Megan, what is it? Why does it matter?
I'm so glad you asked, because I feel like so many times I come on a podcast or I'm at an engagement and people are like, let's talk about average job size. And I'm like, wait, we have to take a step back. Your listeners might not know what we're talking about. So let's bring it to a language point where they understand. So the calculation, whether you have a CRM or not, is quite simple. And it's something that all of you listening can do. You look at your calendar. I hope we're all working from a calendar. And you look at if you need to look at your bank account, you can, or you can look at your books. So you choose a period of time. So we could choose yesterday, for example. Look at yesterday. How much money did I make yesterday? And how many jobs did I do? If you have larger job sizes, yesterday is probably not a big enough sampling. So let's go to last week. Mm-hmm. Last week, when we look at our calendar, how many jobs were on that calendar? And how much income did we make? And that's how we figure out average job size. Now, you could do this for a month. You could do this for a year. You could do this for a quarter. I don't really care. You need a starting point. What was your average job size recently? And choose a number and then start tracking it. So if you chose a sampling from yesterday, then we can look at it a month from now and be like, have we improved? Or what happened there? Did we go down? What was the change? What was the shift that happened?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, needless to say, we want this probably to go up. A higher average job size equals higher revenue in the end. It also equals higher gross profit margins and resulting net profit margins. What are some really obvious and available tactics that you see to increase average job size, Megan?
Yeah, so I like to think about it like, what is in your current wheelhouse? What can you currently do? What is in your power? So when I think about my window cleaning company, I think about, I had this huge light bulb moment a couple years ago when my company was called Jeff Likes Clean Windows, but my highest profit service was gutter cleaning. And most of my clients had no idea that I offered gutter cleaning services. And I was like, well, of course they don't, because it's not in my little logo image and it's not in my name. So it's my job to share with my clients what services do I offer with my existing team, with my existing equipment, and what do they need? I'm the expert. They called me to clean their windows. I feel like I have an obligation to them to also share with them the other services I offer. And we can apply this to pretty much any industry. I like to talk about maid service because I feel like most of us have a housekeeper in our world. When I think about it, we call them to clean our house. But when we want to increase an average ticket in maid service, we ask Mrs. Jones, when was the last time you had your fridge cleaned out? When was the last time you had your oven cleaned out? How are your baseboards looking? Would you like us to change your sheets? So we're adding these little tiny extra services to that job, and we increase our average job size. Mm-hmm. Window cleaning, it was Mrs. Jones. When was the last time you had your gutters cleaned? And then Mrs. Jones, we recommend having your gutters cleaned twice a year. Mrs. Jones, while we're on your roof cleaning your gutters, we should take a look at your solar panels. Did you know that when you have your solar panels cleaned, we see your efficiency go up by 30%? And we're just educating Mrs. Jones and having this conversation with her around our current service offering. We're not going, I'm not going to start offering painting or pest control. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're adding one extra thing to that ticket that the customer needs and they just didn't know to ask for.
The other thing I've heard you talk about, I remember at this conference I slipped into your breakout room and you were really advocating for a big bump in pricing across the board. So not even adding services, just a full-blown raise your pricing floor. And I'll just let you unpack that yourself, because you had some really good comments about what's going on economically right now and now being kind of the perfect time to do that.
I gave a talk about this last week, probably similar to the talk that you saw back in Nashville. And I said, do you know what our inflation rate is, the rolling 12-month average of inflation? And as of August in the U.S., it was 8.3%. And so then I asked the audience, or I'm going to ask you, our listeners, when was the last time you raised your prices? And have you raised them at least 8.3% in the past 12 months? And most people say, yeah, I've raised them, but they haven't raised them that much. And then I say 8.3 is not enough. Don't you dare go raise your prices 8.3%. Now is your opportunity, because your customers, your clients, they're getting emails from Amazon. They're getting emails from Netflix. They're getting emails from Hulu. They have been so conditioned to people raising their prices whose costs really haven't gone up. If you think about SaaS companies,
Totally.
their costs aren't really going up that much. They have lots of capacity. They're only raising their prices because they can. And I need you to get on this bandwagon, because this is your opportunity to right-side your pricing. You have been afraid to raise your prices every year. You've been afraid of Mrs. Jones calling you greedy, so you're not raising your prices. So I'm saying use the current climate to price correctly. Adjust yourself up to where you need to be, because I learned 2 years ago from a woman named Ellen Rohr that the majority of home service businesses are not priced correctly because they have priced based on their competition, not based on their company.
So if you've been priced wrong for the last couple years, now is literally the perfect out. It's the absolute, I could not think of a better moment to actually make that shift, because the environment that your customer is sitting in, like Megan says, they're pretty conditioned to it at this point. And unlike Netflix or Amazon, these examples, your business the inflation has actually hit your business much harder. So there's a more urgent need for you to do it than a large software company. So it's a really, really good point.
I was going to say that you've probably increased your wages that you're paying your staff. Your material costs have definitely gone up, and all of that has currently come from your pocket. But that's not your fault. We need to translate those price increases onto our clients. And it doesn't have to be a bad email. I actually gave this class and I showed, go pull up your Amazon email. It says price increase right in the subject line. There's no apology in there. It's just matter of fact. Copy and paste those emails that you're getting as a consumer and translate those onto your clients. Do not apologize for it. This is your opportunity. And I'm going to just challenge you to be a little aggressive. 100% price increase is not completely out of order here. If you have been priced wrong, if you have not had net profit margins, now's your chance, and go big. Because it's hard to do emotionally. I get it. So you might as well make it count, because you're not going to do it again for a couple months.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, if you want to check out, Megan has gracefully shared one of her tools that she's built. It's a pricing calculator. I'd really, really encourage you to check it out. She's got, obviously a ton of amazing courses and wisdom to share, but this is a neat tool. It's pretty simple that you can access in the description of this episode. You can go play around with it and rejig your pricing structure. Any thoughts on that comment you just made about feeling bad about it, or someone's emotions around raising prices? This is not, maybe speak to the listener out there who goes, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to come off as just this bloodthirsty capitalist who's only concerned about the bottom line. That's not me. What would you say to someone with sort of that belief system in their mind about their pricing as it currently is?
I would say it has no place. I was about to say if you're an owner-operator, fine. But if you have employees, you're doing them a disservice. But I've decided, no, even if you're an owner-operator, you're probably also a spouse, maybe a parent, probably a child. We have an obligation to price profitably so that we can be here in 15 years. Mm-hmm. We have an obligation to understand our costs fundamentally and translating those costs onto our clients, and then presenting great value to those clients so that we can be generous employers, so that we can be generous community members, so that we can continue to provide value to our economy. If we are not priced correctly, we will not be here to do that in the future. If you're not priced right, you're silently going bankrupt, and you don't even know it.
And in this environment right now, which is very inflationary, this was an article I read the other day. I think it was in The Economist, and it was just a really, really well put point. Basically, what this guy was saying, he was an economist, just happened to be in the publication The Economist. He says, in a big inflationary cycle like the one we're in right now, there's essentially two kinds of companies. There are those that get really good at passing rising costs off to their customers, and then there are those that get caught holding the bag. And it is really that simple. You definitely don't want to be in the latter. So listen to what Megan is saying and try to boost that AJS. Let's move on to...
Let me say one more thing. I hate interrupting, but I want you to not think about yourself. And I feel like you got to dig deep. So think about your kids. Think about your spouse. Think about your employees. Think about doing this for them. Think about your clients. Like, your clients need you to get on the roof and clean their gutters or replace their roof or whatever service you offer. They need you, and they need you to be here in 10 years. They need you to be here in 15 years. So if you can't raise your prices because you're afraid for yourself, do it for them.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah, a little less guilty. Make it about the other, not yourself. If that's what you're struggling with on this front. Second big KPI we look at is conversion rate. Now, you guys do window cleaning and home services. So you guys call it a conversion rate. A lot of your sales are done over the phone. If you're a larger average job size contractor, like a landscaper or a painter or a roofer, or you do construction, you might, this same metric you might call sales ratio, but it's essentially how efficient you are at turning the estimates that you complete, the sales opportunities that you have, into closed deals. Megan, I'll let you kind of put your spin on it and how you look at that metric and calculate it. What is conversion rate to you? And again, why does it matter?
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be, and you can do that by clicking right here.